I'd like to call the work session meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Romanek?
Here.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Here.
Commissioner Sui?
Here.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Here.
Commissioner Casabun?
Here.
May we please stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, was advertised, posted, and made available to the public as required by statute. The municipal clerk is directed to include a statement in the minutes of this meeting. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are none, Mayor.
Presentations.
We have a presentation on the annual safety presentation by Hardenberg Insurance Group.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening, thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Can you go to the microphone, please?
Yeah, you'll get picked up on the microphone at the lectern.
Joe Henry, Hardenberg Insurance. I don't know, am I on?
Yes, sounds like it.
We are the risk manager for the city of Millville, and as a requirement, as a member of the committee, you have to have safety on the agenda at least once a year. We pick a topic every year, and this year's topic, as you can see, will be the injury and stress prevention. I will move through it quickly. I would like to note that you do have a very active safety committee with all departments represented, and the main focus is to discuss injuries that occur on the job and see that they don't occur again. So, getting to this, heat's the leading cause of death among all weather-related phenomena in the U.S. It's long been recognized as an occupational hazard. Excessive heat can be dangerous to your employees, and in the worst-case scenario, can cause death. Simply put, when it gets excessively hot and we have a heat wave, your workers are at risk. OSHA Act of 1970 states employees are required to provide a safe working environment free of hazards for all their employees. Since 2021, OSHA has been working on a heat injury and illness prevention standard, and that standard will be done any day, as they say. So as you can see, it's been worked on for a 4-year period. The purpose of the heat stress policy is to recognize the dangers of working in excessive heat, assess that situation, properly control the workplace so your employees are not at risk. Can be done 2 ways, administratively and with your supervisors. Through an administrative way, consider a modified work schedule, which I'm sure you already do. Most towns typically, in a heat wave, will start at 6 versus 8, and finish up at 2 versus 4. That's already taken care of. Self-pacing and extra breaks, if needed, shall be encouraged. And a corporate buddy system, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing. Have a buddy system, look out for each other. We had an incident in Wayne County a couple of years ago. There was a long-time employee, a dedicated employee, was not looking well according to one of the other workers, said something to the boss. The boss said, "Charlie, go sit down. You're not looking good." He did not want to hear any of it. He wanted to continue working. They insisted he sit down. They got him water. They got him shade. He did not seem to get any better. They called 911. As a result, he had a mild heart attack. Had he continued to work as he wanted to do, and if his co-worker had not seen that he was not looking well, it's a possibility it could have been much worse. So the buddy system is very important. Supervisor's responsibility will be scheduling, as I mentioned, most strenuous activities before or after the hottest part of the day, provide water and shade, and monitor those break times and ensure that your employees are safe. Also periodically review your policy to ensure it meets regulatory standards. You must have this heat policy in place, which I'll touch on in a little bit. Ensure the training is happening and being documented, and be aware and monitor your local weather. If you do have a heat wave coming, you want to get out ahead of it and be prepared. Employee responsibilities will be to attend and participate in any training. And when I mention training, anything you can imagine in a municipal government setting, training is available through the gym. Follow the heat stress prevention measures. Encourage your teammates to follow that program. And it's important that they monitor themselves as well. And as previously mentioned, take appropriate action if somebody is not feeling well. Designate your employees to schedule. You want to designate an employee, typically your supervisor, DPW. Schedule training. Make sure it conforms to the heat stress policy and see that it's delivered. Hydration is key. Most important thing. Employees must have access to drinking water. 2 gallons of water per employee per shift should be made available. That will be in the policy. Moving on to page 12. we have cramps, we've all suffered from cramps. You go ahead, you get hydrated, take a rest, in all likelihood you'll be better and ready to go back to work. Heat exhaustion is the first form of heat stroke. If it's not taken care of properly, you can see the symptoms there. And we don't want that to morph into heat stroke. If at any time anybody feels it's serious enough, by all means call 911. So in conclusion, from a safety committee standpoint, the health and welfare of your employees is paramount. Your objective is to see that each employee returns home safely the way they came to work, available for their families. OSHA standards are designed to make this happen, and as the safety consultant, Jay Montgomery, who we work in conjunction with, is your partner in achieving this goal. Their safety team has already developed a template to comply with the OSHA heat and illness requirements. So Pam's aware of that. You simply go into the gym website, you look it up, it's there. Fillable form, you just put in Millville City, you print it, you have it available with your other policies, and if you do have an OSHA inspection, it's there ready to be available for you. So that concludes this year's topic. If there's anything you'd like to know related to it or your safety committee, please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Joe. Well,
If not, we'll be out of your way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
discussion of commissioners. Commissioner Hewitt?
I'll wait for the regular meeting. Thank you.
Commissioner Sui? High Street parking?
We want to do the public, no public comment on agenda items?
Yeah, I missed it. Public comment on agenda items only. If anybody from the public would like to come to the podium, state your name, limit your concerns to 5 minutes. Seeing no one, I will close public comment on agenda items. Commissioner Sui, go ahead. Thank you for the reminder.
So I put on here a discussion on High Street parking. So you all received the email, it was forwarded from Mr. Couchy, for benefit of the public. It says, "Good day, Mr. Couchy. I tried stopping by today, however, you were obviously not available. In previous years, the city of Millville leased the parking lot from Riggins Incorporated. However, a few years ago, the city opted not to renew the lease as it was deemed not necessary. We took over the lease as a result of the city's decision. However, now that the parking lot behind the old Bank of America and Shannon Funeral Home have been fenced in, nurses, staff, and visitors of J.C. Plaza have begun to occupy our leased parking lot. I wanted to see if there were some options, or shall I merely file a permit to put up a fence and tow notice / private property? I have attached the PDF highlighted the location in question. Now I will add this. So as I've been visiting various establishments on High Street to see what problems are, needs are, etc. Inadequate parking is up there, lack of feeling safe, police presence, and inadequate lighting. So I will continue to go to Center City and visit and see what they say. So the city leasing the parking lot will not solve the parking problem. It doesn't solve the problem. It's going to be the same people parking there. And I understand Jim Blunt is concerned about parking for their patrons, but that doesn't solve a problem. The problem is lack of parking places. Now, the city owns 114 Smith Street, which is the dirt part of the parking lot. The state also owns property on 24 East Oak Street. So they owe back taxes on that. We're in the process of foreclosing. They wish to deed that to the city, and the tax collector's office is doing their due diligence to make sure that that's possible. And they the DEP contacted us as my department as we're public property. So if we do take that, there's room for 7 parking places there. El Guacamole has requested a parking space be designated as short-term parking for the same reason, because the parking lot all around the bank is closing so that people can pick up takeout orders. The Levoy Theater, as you guys know, has problems with loading and unloading during shows and then dropping off children for classes. Perhaps we should consider a drop-off zone there. So, and in the back of the Orr House parking lot, there's buses that park there to take up additional parking places. So I had previously asked the commission to consider turning Buck Street into one-way parking and adding angle parking, and you guys didn't want to do that. You might want to reconsider it. If so, great. If not, fine. It could be one way in either direction. So And I ask you guys to come up with a plan, and I await your consideration and comments either today or at some future meeting.
I know that the state is doing what they call bump outs on most of the intersections on High Street from the side streets. So that is adding to additional pedestrian safety
At the cost of parking places.
while minimizing the loss of parking spots is per DOT's and our engineering department's goal of that. Parking wise, yes, you know, the buses, I hear from many people, those 3, I think.
Yeah.
They take up, what's that, at least 6 spots? I mean, parking garage would be nice. But, yeah. for the-
Because they take the buses home, correct?
The buses, when I go there, are sitting behind in the parking lot.
The buses belong to the Taekwondo company on High Street.
Really?
And from this, looking into it that I've done, they actually have like a morning drop-off daycare for younger kids and stuff. And they use those buses to take the kids to the
To
schools.
school, okay.
But yeah, there's gotta be something we can do there, cause I
Can
know
do
I
with
just dealt
that,
with it.
right.
I just dealt with a situation that, you know, basically we have an ordinance in town that says nothing over 20 feet long can be parked on a city street, that we're dealing with in a certain area of town, cause somebody's decided to park their 40-foot motorhome on the side of the street. And naturally, the residents have the right to complain about that. So we're working on that. There's gotta be something we can probably do with, I don't know, I don't know.
Do you think of, I mean, I don't know, parking study, like angled parking instead of perpendicular, parallel
I think
parking?
you're gonna have enough room for 2
You
lanes
I
on
don't
High Street
know.
without doing a study.
Especially with the trucks going through.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
you
think-
don't have enough
yeah,
room for that.
yeah.
Widen it?
Who owns the property between Cabanals and the chicken place? There
The
was
old
just a-
Firestone,
The old, yeah,
property.
it burnt down, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, dirt lot there.
they're the lot owners.
Yeah.
that would have to be asked downstairs, because I think that's still owned by the family or descendant of the family after the fire happened decades ago when they cleared it out.
225, 227 North High Street.
You can look that up on there. If you're gonna pay, as if you're gonna pay taxes on it, you can look it up now if you really want to.
No, progress with the meeting. Okay, well, food for thought there from all of us. Vice Mayor Watson, any input? Anything else, Commissioner Sui?
That's all I have.
Commissioner Cosman?
No.
Vice Mayor Watson? Go ahead, please.
For my discussion?
Yep, work session.
Well, welcome Emily Dillon as our municipal clerk. I'll do like a little bit more of a formal introduction, come discussion of commissioners for the regular session. But welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
For still moving forward with union negotiations, this week we met with SOA already. Later this week we're going to be meeting with Council 18. Also, I wanted to add this in work session for one of the agenda items, Pleasant Drive improvements. Engineering had an update, and it's in tonight's agenda, like I said. The second 6-month award extension is required to allow extending the project award deadline to November 22nd, 2025. This will be in line with the MA 2023 deadline of November 1st, 2025. In discussion with the New Jersey DOT, the second extension is required to allow completion of a water utility infrastructure improvement, which could be considered if the design package is submitted along with the city resolution of support. But other than that, that's all I have.
Yeah, it's talking with engineer about Pleasant Drive project. I got directly from DOT paperwork side issued, so I know that is funneling through on the engineering side. Thank you, Vice Mayor Watson. I have nothing for this time. New business, seeing none. Public comment portion. We have now reached the public comment portion of our meeting. Anyone from the public would like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name, address your concerns, and please limit your comments to approximately 5 minutes.
Tamara Davis, in regards to the parking on High Street and your concerns about it, first off, I'm sure you read the proposed or the draft master plan. On page 37, there's a paragraph that a recommendation is to do a downtown parking study. I wouldn't necessarily, want to pay for a parking study unless you could start enforcing certain rules to force people to park in the public parking. So if you start creating ordinances or using just general law, regulations to have people forced into public parking lots, then you could probably get a better assessment of who's parking in public lots. One of the biggest problems is that there's a lot of residents that park in the lots, some of them for a long time, and the cars just sit there or they're abandoned there. And apparently it takes a lot for a car to be towed, which can't figure that out. So if you start utilizing any laws that you have in the book, any rules, to clear up any public parking and try to push people into parking into those areas, that might give you a better idea of what's going on as far as who's parking where. As far as the buses, you might want to go back as far as, I think, 2019 or 2018, when the Taekwondo place went in front of the zoning board to get their zoning permission. One of the things was that they were not to be operating as a school, but unfortunately they have school buses. So what's the definition of a school? If you have a school bus, is it a school? And those 3 buses take up to 8 parking spots, and some of them have more. So, you may be concerned about parking, but you need to look at what is going on in the lots. There's no lines that are painted, residents just leave their cars, there's abandoned cars, and there's more public parking than you think. You mentioned the Kavanaughs, there's an entire parking lot behind Kavanaughs that is public parking. So before you go and changing traffic patterns, deciding that you need slant parking or this and that and the other thing, start setting up sort of ordinances, start paying attention to some rules that you could follow, start forcing people to park in those public lots, so maybe you can understand what's truly available. Just saying. So, thanks.
Mayor, if I?
Thank you. Go ahead, Watson.
Tamara was speaking, and I don't know why I didn't think of this before, because it used to be my job. It was my first full-time job at a high school. What about a part-time parking enforcement officer, bringing that back? If you just throwing it out there, I don't know if it's something that we're going to be doing or not, but, if the parking lot goes back to lease for the gym's lunch, it's an area that a part-time parking enforcement officer can go over there and evaluate, at a certain time, 2 hours, used to be, I think it was. But,
Something to look into, definitely.
yep.
Good evening, Commissioners. Marissa Ranello, Millville. I came tonight for a separate issue, but it actually ties in to what Commissioner Sui was saying. I wasn't sure if you were all aware, but the encampments on public property are growing exponentially over the last few months. Greatly concerned because they may be encroaching on public property, but right now private property, but right now it's a public property issue. The old walking trail right now is, you'd be amazed to see what it looks like. My concern is, God forbid there's a fire back there. I don't know if our fire department can take care of that fire if it's accessible. I'm asking you guys not to ignore this issue. I'm asking you to go check it out for yourselves, take a walk. I know 1 or 2 of you have taken a walk with me last year, and it's doubled or tripled in size. Asking you to be proactive rather than reactive. We have an ordinance for this. Rather than enforce it on private property, it's time that we enforce it, or at least examine how to take care of this and look for options with the county. But you really need to look at it in person and see it for yourself, because it's really alarming. You were talking about parking on High Street, Commissioner Sui, and you mentioned lighting, safety. I don't parking, but it's further away from the places like the Lavoy or El Guacamole, and nobody wants to walk in. You need to make it more walkable. Lighting is definitely still an issue. You can drive by Buck Park at any time. It's still pitch black in the front. That makes me worried for our offices. Right now, 2,000 feet away, you have a car parked right outside of here that's been there for 4 days. There's people living in it, and they're hanging out on the docks at night. And I don't know how nobody sees this. So I'm asking you to look at this stuff with a lens and maybe take a more proactive approach. Chicken versus egg thing. You could build this town up and invite everybody here, but unless you start cleaning it up, nobody's coming. Thank you.
If I may, Mayor. So
Yeah.
as part of the UEZ doing the sidewalks, we are adding additional lighting to certain parts to alleviate that problem. As for the ordinance of keeping the homeless out of the parks, we passed an ordinance that I don't know how you're going to enforce it. What are you going to do with them when you arrest them? You going to write them a ticket, tell them to go to court? You're going to take them to the county jail or whatever? They're not going to take them. They're not going to arrest them and keep them, for bail. So you're right, it's a problem with the homeless, but I can't find anybody that has a solution for the homeless. Nobody. If anybody has it, I'm all ears. I don't have it. If you guys have it, please tell me what it is. I've been looking for it. I've met with pastors, asked them what they thought. They didn't have a solution. The only thing that I read that worked was Miami stuck them on buses and sent them out. And we have too much objection to do that here. Too many people are against that here. And I'm not saying that's kind and it's nice, and I'm not even saying we should do it. But it's the only thing I can find that worked. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you. We have people that invite them in to give them food. We provide them with things. If you provide them with things, they will come. If you provide them with a park to stay in, guess what? They'll stay in the park. If you don't get them out of here, they're going to stay and more will come. And the problem just compounds. I don't have the solution. I've been looking for the solution for 3.5 years. If anybody has a solution, please tell me. But don't tell me little houses because you won't be able to build enough of them. And the more that kind of stuff you do, the more homeless you will attract. So I don't know if you guys have any ideas, but
No, I agree with you.
If I may. First one's a quick answer, Marissa.
But before you, hold on, Commissioner. Anybody else come to the podium on public comment? If not, I'll close the public comment portion. Go ahead, Commissioner Hewitt.
First one, forest fire. Luckily, we have 4 forest fire trucks in this city that residents are forest firefighters. Because anything along the river, no, we can't get to it with our equipment. So they come all the way along. You and I worked together on the ordinance, the homeless ordinance. Our population is growing down there on that river behind the old rescue squad and such. And it's proof of how it works. There was a decision made to clean the property out on the end of 8th Street going back towards the warehouses, and the city participated in that. Guess where those folks went? They're on the river now. Every time we move them, they find somewhere else to go, because I think we can all agree that know about that. That area at the end of 8th Street was cleaned up. All the pallet sheds were removed and everything else. But now they've built their pallet sheds over on the river from the back of the post office, way past that one that you and I looked at that day we walked. Yes, I agree. The ordinance, we pretty much knew there's nothing we can do, because where do we put them? Where do we put them? I'm going to echo some. I don't even need to repeat it. I'll agree with Commissioner Sui on something that he said. When you got places feeding them 7 days a week, it's a place to come. They come from Vineland because they don't get fed 7 days a week in Vineland. But there's nothing we can do. We can't lock them up. We can't lock them up. We could put them downstairs in a holding cell for a couple hours, usually till they sober up and such, but we can't lock them up. No judge is going to put them in jail. And it's not just Millville. It's everywhere. Sadly, it's everywhere. I wish we had some meat in that ordinance that you and I worked on with the chief, but there's nothing there. There's no way to enforce it unless the law is allowed to enforce it.
And unfortunately, I don't think it's just the city, it's the state level, and it's a
Oh,
national.
no,
a
it's
national level.
everywhere.
It has to go from
But
the
this
top.
is our city, and I
Right.
understand the concern. This is our
However,
city.
I did have a conversation with Marissa at one point, and she had a very good valid point, and she was turned down on it, that a lot of these homeless will go home. And she had a suggestion of, that we would provide the bus fare, but she was shot down. You know what? If my parents would take me back home, I'd go home if I was homeless.
But where's home?
Who shot that?
Because I was going to say, it wasn't shot
I'm
down.
not
We
sure.
talked
It
about
was
this
not-
when we ran.
It wasn't shot down up through here.
Yeah, it
She
wasn't
was-
about us.
No, it wasn't us. It was not us. But she was told, no. It's kind of like cruel.
Can you help us there a little bit with that, Marissa? I don't, this is the first I've heard it.
It wasn't collectively discussed.
Yeah.
No, it was just it was a conversation, and it's a very good point that she brought up.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
A lot of them would go home, but where's
Right.
home? How much does it cost us to send them home? But I don't know. I don't have an answer.
I don't have an
Uh,
answer.
The PD doesn't have an answer. The judges don't have an answer.
Correct.
Nobody has an answer of what everybody will say, just what we're saying up here. What do you want us to do with it?
And I don't mean it to be mean, but if
No,
your
neither do
family
I.
wants you back, then that's where you should go to get the help. But, again.
I'd love to do something with 601, the call sign, the call address is 601 North High Street.
Right.
I'd love to take that, we're talking about parking. That's our property. I was gonna visit this a little bit later down the road in another meeting, because it was brought up to me by a resident. Why can't we make that into a parking lot, a city parking lot? There's not a lot down there, granted. We need to do something about that area. We're running, this time of the year, we're running 8, 10 calls there for the same 3 people. But the answer is what? What do we do? What can we do as a commission? I wish I knew. That's all I got.
Confiscate those 3 buses and send them home.
Any closing comments from the commissioners? Thank you for the good discussion. Seeing none. Resolutions.
Yes, we have a resolution authorizing a closed session for the following matters: discussion of conflict labor council, tower lease negotiation, and City of Millville solid waste collection agreement.
Make motion?
Second motion.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Yeah, my wife said it.
Yeah, Robin.